Today, we're going to learn together about the geography of Abraham's journey to the Holy Land. So I'm going to take you through this journey using archaeology, using maps, and using the locations where he moved from Ur of the Chaldeans to Haran, all the way to the land of Canaan. And then I'm going to speak about Ur and show you pictures from Ur. Then I'm going to speak about Haran and show you pictures of Haran. And then we're going to take you through the land of Canaan, where he went to Shechem, which is Nablus today. And this is in West Bank. And Shechem is where Abraham had made his first covenant with God. And this is a site that is not visited by many people because it's in West Bank and it's very hard to reach in Nablus. And I will take you through a virtual tour in Shechem and see how it looked in the Canaanite period. And then I will do a summary in the end. I will use scripture too, and I will teach you, and I will read for you verses from the Old Testament in Hebrew, because the Hebrew have much more meanings than the English. And at the end, I will give some time for questions. So this is the big picture today, but we're gonna focus on Abraham's journey and why it is important to study the geography of Abraham's journey. The journey marks the identity of the people. When we study the archaeology, we study the valleys and the cities, we will learn more about Abraham's calling, because there's a deep connection and reason where the stories of the Bible took place at specific location. For example, why did he stay in Haran? And geography will help us to understand the verses of the Bible. We see here a satellite map of the Fertile Crescent. And here we see the Tigris and the Euphrates River. And here we see the Nile River. I'm going to zoom a little bit more. This is Ur of the Chaldeans. And this is the Persian Gulf. And these are the rivers. And this is Haran, which is present today in North Syria, Turkey. And it's today in archaeology, stands there. And it's a metropolitan site. And the land of Canaan. I will divide Abraham's journey into 3 parts. We start with Ur, we go to Haran, and then we go to Canaan. And we're going to follow the routes. Before doing that, there are so many names for the Fertile Crescent. One of it is the Levant, which comes from the French. French are from the west, and they saw the sun coming from the east, sun rise up from the east. So the Levant literally means rising of the sun from the east direction. We have another name to this part of the world, Mesopotamia, which is a Greek word which means between the rivers. Which rivers? The Euphrates, Tigris, and the Nile. So this is between the 2 rivers and the Nile. All this area is the promised land. Also, we have another name, the land of milk and honey. We have another name, the Fertile Crescent. We have the Promised Land. We have so many names to this part of the world. But I like to use the Holy Land because it's a spiritual name. For the people who are joining us from Texas, Texas is almost the size of the Holy Land, of the Promised Land. It's huge. By the way, Texas is God's country. Now, there are 3 major routes for traveling in ancient times. The first one is called the Via Maris, the way of the sea. And the other one called the King's Highway, and the third one, the Way of Patriarchs. And these routes are common at the time of Abraham. And we will see that Abraham used these three routes. Now, the Via Maris, the way of the sea, goes from east to west. The King's Highway goes from north to south, and the way of the patriarchs is inside the Holy Land.
Oh, that's huge.
Now, the core question here, what route Abraham took to travel from his homeland to Canaan? Here, I'm going to show you the Via Maris. This is the Via Maris, the road all the way up. Remember, Ur is here. So Abraham started from Ur, and he took the road of the sea, because everyone is traveling through this route from east to west. And when he arrived to Haran, and then to Damascus, and he wanted to go down south, he used the King's Highway. You see the King's Highway that goes through the Jordan Valley. And when he arrived in this area, through the Jabbok River, he entered the Promised Land, and he used the road of the patriarchs inside here in the Holy Land. So he used the three major routes that everyone travels there. He did not do anything different in traveling. Let me read for you from Scripture. The call of Abram from Genesis 12, 1 to 9. As I told you, I'm going to read it in English and in Hebrew and explain for you the meaning of the Hebrew words, because the Hebrew words will have more depth to understand Scripture. Because sometimes when it's translated from Aramaic and Hebrew to English, it's not precisely translated, because there are some idioms in Hebrew. If you don't know the Hebrew culture or the Aramean culture, it's hard to understand sometimes these verses. And this is an example. Genesis 12, 1 to 9. The Lord had said to Abram, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. ואומר אדוני על אברהם, לך לך מארצך וממולדתך ומבית אביך על הארץ אשר אראך. Do you hear the Hebrew how it's different? לך לך. לך לך means leave. It's like a direct order twice. לך לך, which means leave from your own country. And it says וממולדתך. Memoloditecha means your birthplace. Now, this is not translated in English. I don't know why. I can't find it here. So it means leave from the place you were born. So here the Lord is telling Abram, leave your home, the place where you belong, your own neighborhood, where you grew up and had your childhood. And imagine the Lord is telling you, leave your house, your comfort zone, your country, your neighbors, what you will do. Leave everything, because I will reveal my heart to you. This is what the Lord is telling Abraham. He is getting to reveal for him a deep secret. And he's telling him, just trust in me, because I will make everything new for you. Just leave. Now, the beauty of God's calling, God is unplugging Abraham from his comfort zone, from everything. God is asking from Abraham to stop his life from one location to another location that he will show him. Now, it's very hard when God tells you leave and leave everyone, leave everything, and trust in me, because I'm going to show you the place next. So you have to go by faith. It means God is preparing for him a new place, a new nationality, a new family, a new country. And this is an early revelation about the Messiah. This is what God gives us when we accept the Messiah. He gives us a new land, a new nationality, a new family. In other words, God is saying to Abraham, you do not belong to Ur, you belong to the land of Canaan. So it's a glimpse of the biblical story and of the new covenant in the Messiah. I can stay another longer time explain this verse. But this is so deep when you read it from the original language. And now, when you understand what I said, if you continue reading verse 2 and 3, it will make more sense to you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. That's also about the Messiah he's talking. Now, I won't read all the verses from 4 to 9, but I wrote in red for you the important locations that he went through. And we said his birthplace was Ur of the Chaldeans. And then he went to Haran, and he took his wife Sarai, and from Haran to the land of Canaan to a place called Shechem. Now, Shechem also is important location in the Holy Land, which I'm gonna show you and take you through a virtual tour to this site that is not visited by much people, even not much excavations there, because it's in the heart of West Bank in Nablus. And then from Shechem, he went to the Negev down to Beersheba. So from Ur to Haran to Shechem. Let's follow his footsteps. Ur of the Chaldeans. You know, the trip is around 700 miles. The journey is very long, 3 months. And why the journey is very long? Because he's gonna go on the trade routes with the caravans, all right? Caravan of camels. He will take the sheep with him. He will take the goats, all the flock. And a caravan is minimum 500 people there. And I'm gonna show you a video of a caravan of camels. So what equipment did he take with him when he traveled? How did they transport and carry all the equipment? What food did they eat during their journey? Did they use animals such as donkeys, horses, camels, sheep, and goats? Or did they only use feet? So look here. Camels are very important, especially in the desert time, along the goats and the sheep. Camels were beasts of burden. We call them ships of the desert, carrying tents for shelter at night, sleeping mats of straw, sacks on the top, wheat, dates, olive oil for food, few clay pots for cooking. And look at that beautiful animal. You needed to travel in ancient times. And I will share with you a little bit more about camels. This is a group with twin tours having a camel ride in the desert. And I want you to look at the camel. You see the humps consist of stored fat, and they can mobilize when food and water is scarce. So they are built for long traveling. And the camels, they have a third clear eyelid that protects their eyes from blowing sand. And also they have 2 rows of long lashes also to protect their eyes. And you see the lips of the camel are huge because the camels, when there is a sandstorm, they can flip their lips all the way, reaches their nose and cover their nose. So if a sandstorm takes place, he will be protected. He is made for the desert. And camels can carry about 375 to 600 pounds. In kilograms, 170 to 270 kilograms on their backs. So when the tourists are on the back, it's nothing for them. It's like you are carrying a backpack. And they can drink 30 gallons of water, 113 liters, in just around 10 minutes. It's an amazing animal. So you have to take it with you in traveling. But also you have to take with you sheep. All right. Sheep is very important, and especially the goats. And the goats, you need it for a lot of things. The goat's meat, the goat's milk, So the goats, from the hair, you do the tents. So you have actually to go with the pace of the goats. And the goats can go from 10 to 12 miles per day. So you have to pace yourself with the goats. That's the most important. Now, Genesis 2:14. The name of the third river is the Tigris. It runs along the east side of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. This is a picture of the Tigris River. It's quite a big river, as you see. And here is another picture of the Euphrates River. And they are most important rivers. And this is the Euphrates. Ur is at the tip of the Euphrates River, and this is the Tigris. And actually, here are the mountains of Turkey. When it rains in Turkey here, when it rains hard, all the water goes south, go down. Why? Because this is lower in elevation, and the water goes to the Persian Gulf. So this is the Fertile Crescent. And as I mentioned, everything inside to the beyond the river, the Bible says, is the promised land. Anything to the right of the river is not a blessed or promised land here. Now, we will divide, as I said, Abraham's journey into three parts. From Ur to Haran, we will read scripture. From Haran to Shechem, to Nablus, and from Shechem to the Negev. Haran is mentioned, Ur is mentioned in Genesis 11:31. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans. By the way, Chaldeans is an Aramean word which means two rivers, to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. This is Ur. Ur means a city from the word Ir. Also, another meaning is the moon city, the city of the Chaldeans. It was a center of commercial place, a trade route, and was a political power. And by the way, it's a very old location. Ur is 3,800 BCE. Abraham is only 1,800 BCE, which means around 4,000 years from today. So it was a big power in ancient times. It's one of the oldest cities in the world. This is another picture of Ur. By the way, Baghdad, everyone knows Baghdad, southeast of Ur, around 220 miles or 350 kilometers is Baghdad in this area. Now, this is the first part, from Ur to Haran. And now, from Haran to Shechem. And why did he stay at Haran? I won't read all the verses. Genesis 12:4-6, this is Haran. He stayed there, then went to Canaan, into Shechem. Why Haran? Also, it's a metropolitan city. Haran is also where the King's Highway meets with the Road of the Sea, the Via Maris, and goes south. So it's a center of trade. Remember Jacob? He stayed in Haran, and he worked for Laban too for so many years because there's income there. It's one of the most important cities in the world, like New York today or Beijing. That was Ur and Haran and Shechem. They were big at that time. This is Haran is in Turkey, North Syria, Turkey. This is the Turkish flag. Still, there is some archaeology from today in Haran. And this is these huts, they are very old, standing till today. And this is a museum in Haran. And you can see the ancient olive presses. You can see the chariot's wheels and a lot of archaeology, a column here. It's a trade center. Now, in order to understand Abraham's journey, we have to learn about Jacob's journey too, because from Jacob we learn more. Because I searched all the scripture. With Abraham, it does not, Genesis does not tell us exactly from where he entered the promised land. But when we read about Jacob's journey, it tells us exactly where he entered. He left from the Euphrates River, all right, to the country, hill country of Gilad. So I'll show you where is Gilad later too. And from Gilad, in Genesis 32:22, it says Jacob went at the crossed the ford of the Jabbok River. We know exactly where is the Jabbok River today. And then a place called Peniel. I will show you on the map where is Peniel. So Jacob helped us to see about Abraham's journey. And then also Jacob went to Shechem. Why he took the same route also later, Jacob? Because it's the main route. Shechem was a big city. So here is the Jabbok River. You see the arrow? It's a natural valley, wadi, and where the river is. And this is Gilad, the mountains of Gilad we just read. And we talked about Peniel, a site which is here. And all of that is mentioned, and we know these cities today. So when Jacob came from Haran, he took also the king's highway, and there's a natural valley between these two hills where he entered. Let me zoom in, and you can see here more the Jabbok River, and here meets with the Jordan River, and here this area is Shechem. Let me zoom more. And you see now more the Jabbok River here. And Jacob, and he crossed all the way to reach to Nablus, Shechem. So it's a natural walk, trade route. And Abraham probably took this route too. And guess who entered from here also? The Bible tells us. Also Joshua entered from here to the promised land nearby from the south. But this is a picture of the Jabbok River. And we're going to read in Joshua 3:15 to 16 what happened too. They entered the promised land, remember, with the Ark of Covenant, and far away at Adam, a heap from Adam and Zarta'an. We know where are these locations. Let me show you. See, this is Adam, and south of here is where Joshua also entered to the promised land, and he conquered different cities, Ai and Gilgal and Jericho, and also where he went to Shechem too. So Abraham came through the King's Highway, entered from the Jabbok River, Jacob, and this is where all the forefathers went to Shechem. So Shechem is a very important ancient location. And look what is written in Genesis 12:6-7. Abraham passed through the land of the place of Shechem, which is Tel Balata, called Nablus, in the West Bank, in the heart of West Bank, as far as the tabernacle tree of Moreh. And the Canaanites were then in the land. So the Canaanites lived in Shechem, and they called it Beit Shakmo, which means the sacred house. Then the Lord appeared to Abraham and said, to your descendants I will give this land. And there he built an altar to the Lord. So Abraham had built an altar to the Lord, a sacred altar. And when Abraham built the first covenant with God, he showed him this place. And now everything made sense to him. This is the promised land. Here is Shechem. And this is the site. It's not much excavated. This is in the heart of Nablus. And not many people can be able to go there. And because it's a very important biblical site, also from the Canaanite time, I'm going to take you now through a virtual tour to go to Shechem. Now, I was there 2 years ago almost, and it's in the center of the city, and the city of Nablus is around, and it's a big city. And here I'm standing. To the right side, I'm pointing to Mount Gerizim, and to the left side is Mount Ebal. The video might be a little bit slow, but it will come back. So this is Mount Ebal. As I mentioned, there's not much archaeology or excavations done. There's a lot of archaeology, but not much excavations were done there. Only Germans in between 1914 to 1934 had done some excavations, and later a little bit Americans had done from Chicago University had done excavations between 1956 to 1969, and is not touched much. But the most important, they found the city gate. The city gate is between 2200 BCE to 1500 BC. This is the city gate. I'm going to show you a reconstruction of this city gate, how it looked. And why this city gate is important, because during the time of Jacob, Jacob and his sons, including Joseph, would pass through this city gate from here. And also, if you remember the story in the Bible, Simeon, and Levi would enter this city gate to slaughter the men of Shechem after the rape of their sister Diana. Also, Joshua entered through that city gate, conquering Shechem. And here is a replica of the altar. And Abraham made an altar, and he made his first covenant with God when he arrived to Shechem. And we will see, this is the reconstruction of the Canaanite city. And now we'll see what remained from the altar. Not much. And this is the center of the downtown archaeological site. And here, to the left side is Mount Gerizim, to the right side is Mount Ebal, and what we just looked is Tel Balatha, Shechem. Ancient Shechem is located here. And this is Nablus city today. And we read in Deuteronomy 27, after Joshua entered the promised land, they would go to Shechem also. And God commanded half of the people to stand on Mount Gerizim and shout the blessings if they obey, and other half to stand on Mount Ebal to shout the curses if they did not obey. And also we read in Joshua 24, Joshua himself, he renewed the covenant at Shechem. Joshua assembled the nation in Shechem. He asked them to choose to follow God or not, because they have to take the ultimate decision. And this is their own choice. Joshua gave them to decide by themselves. Do they choose to serve the Lord, or they choose not to serve the Lord? And whom they will serve, whom you will worship in truth. This is what Joshua renewed the covenant. And we read that in Joshua chapter 24, verse 14. But as for me and my household, we serve the Lord. So they chose to serve the Lord. From Shechem, Joshua renewed the covenant. And the last part of the journey is from the Shechem to the Negev. So we said first from the Ur of the Chaldeans, then to Haran, and then to Shechem. And the last part is between Shechem and the Negev, through the lords of the patriarch, what Abraham had took. And in scripture it mentions he went to the Bethel, he went also north and east and to Ai, and in the end he continued toward the Negev to Beersheba. So Abraham was moving north and south and a little bit east. And why do Abraham on the road of the patriarchs would move to the north or to the south? Why he keep journeying from one location to another location? Because he have a flock, he have sheep, he have goats, and during summertime he will go up north for the breeze, for the air, and for feeding the flock after the rain. And when it rains so much, he will go to the south and settle in Beersheba. And because it's not cold and still there's some green things. So Abraham were moving north, they go with the flock, with the weather. And finally, he settled in Beersheba before he went to Egypt. So let's do a summary. Abraham used the road of the sea, the Via Maris, from east to west, and then from north to south, he used the King's Highway, and then he used the Patriarch Road inside the Promised Land. He did not do anything different. He went with a trade route with the metropolitan cities, Ur, Haran, and Shechem. But what he done different is he obeyed and trusted God to go to a new place. So, why it's helpful to follow Abraham route? Why geography matters? Because it will help us to understand the Bible stories in a deeper way. And it will lead us to understand the God of the Bible. And geography will help us to strengthen our faith. So, by this came to the end of the lesson. And our next lessons actually, will be 7 lessons about the geographical regions of the land of Israel or the land of Canaan. And we're going to take each region in details and we're going to follow scripture from its original language and to know exactly about each geographical region, to know how the stories of the Bible are structured, because geography matters. So the next lesson will be the coastal plain. Then we're going to talk in details about the lowland, the Shfilah, and the stories of the Bible that took place. Then we're going to, lesson 3, talk about the hill country and the mountain ridge. And then one complete lesson about Galilee region and the geography there. Then another lesson about the Golan Heights, the Jordan Valley, and we will end in the desert.